Hey people, welcome to the channel, and in this case we're gonna put together the perfect bug out bag survival kit so as to get through anything, any emergency, any disaster, whatever it is, you can deal with it. Yeah, it is a little bit of an exaggeration, but let's be serious. I've been doing this long enough just to know that there's certain items you definitely want to have. I've been doing this long enough that I know that certain items give you enough options during difficult situations that you definitely do want to have them with you. Some of these are common knowledge, not going to surprise anyone, but there's always going to be a little twist here and there that's going to give you that extra edge. As always, none of this does you any good if you don't have the knowledge, the information, the skills so as to get you through complicated times are always going to be more important than any specific item. For that, you have the channel with a ton of valuable information already here. Use the search function, subscribe if you haven't done so already, hit the notification bell button so as to get new videos as I keep on uploading them daily. And you have my books, True Survival Skills, Surviving the Economic Collapse, the French version of Surviving the Economic Collapse, which is actually selling very well thanks to all the French friends out there, and Bugging Out and Relocating, which I think is very relevant to this topic here. Again, this is for emergencies when you decide to stay in place, bug in, or if you have to bug out. And of course, I don't know your specific situation. Are you single? Are you a young, healthy man? Are you a guy that has 3 little kids? Do you have a pregnant wife? Do you have someone with a medical issue that you need to address? All of these specifics you will need to adjust to your own scenario. Even just living in a place that has very cold winters or a place that's just very warm, mild weather year round, all of this changes what you need or not. An example of that is how much water you need or the kind of clothes you have for an emergency. If I would live like in a very cold climate location, I would definitely have heavier winter clothes in here, maybe even a bigger bag, a decent pair of shoes in case I need those, right? So all of these things will be adjusted. Let's get to this. A bag. You don't need to be Mr. Tactical Badass. You don't need to look tactical. You need to be tactical. And part of this is play the gray man game. I know it's often exaggerated and whatnot, but listen, that's simply about looking normal like everyone else. A backpack that hasn't got a bunch of Molly and Digicam and whatnot, just a school or college kid backpack, these will fit most of the things you need to get in there. As long as it's sturdy and it gets the job done. I mean, if you need something bigger, go with that. But if you can go with something ordinary like that Eastpak, go with that. Food and water. How much water? Again, will depend on how you plan on evacuating. You have to do that if you're going to go by foot. If you live in very warm climates or very cold climates, you probably want to have another bottle. I would throw in a 2-liter bottle. That's what I have in most of our bags for the family. But a metal bottle has the advantage of you can use that for cooking as well. So water, not just I don't even have a filter here. Why? Because honestly, the chances of you needing to go through water in a filter during an emergency, you will be far more likely to go through that 2-liter water bottle than a filter. But again, your specific situation may dictate that I want to throw a straw filter. I actually have it in some of our kits. I think I have it in all of our bags as well. One of the straw filters really doesn't take much space, but if you're just going for the basics and you want to put this together right now in your house, maybe it's something that I wouldn't go nuts over not having right this moment. Food. Same thing, some food. Actually, water is far more important than food. Go heavy on water. That's going to be far more useful than the food. A couple protein bars or power bars or whatever. You have specialized emergency food like the Energy 5s that I use in our kits and my vehicle and keep some. These last for 20 years. These are like emergency rations. They're great, but little tip. You can go into any supermarket and buy some dehydrated mashed potatoes, a flaky thing. Those, super cheap. As long as you buy something that's only potatoes and hasn't got any oils, any additives, any of those things, and it's just dry potato in a Mylar bag, that thing will last for decades. I know because I've actually tasted these things after 5-6 years past expiration. It is so dry, it's almost like little pieces of paper. It really isn't affected much, especially kept properly sealed in the Mylar bag. And that's your emergency ration that you can mix with water. You can eat straight out of the bag. It's not great, but hey, it is just something to keep you going. And of course, if you want to have some crackers or whatever it is, you work with what works best or you like best in your case. Shelter. Some Mylar bags, you have some of these emergency bags that are maybe a little bit more handy, especially if you want to stay warm. Just going into that emergency bag instead of just wrapping yourself with a space blanket. I always recommend having spare set of clothes, at least some underwear, t-shirt and shorts. You may want to throw those little moccasins, socks, and like for boat stuff. They're just like a little thick sock with some rubberized material or neoprene in the part where you actually step on. Those are super compact, very cheap, and you can throw it in there, and at least you won't go barefoot. Some of these plastic sheets and some duct tape will allow you to improvise a decent shelter. Ponchos, these things that you probably have seen in a number of videos and books and whatnot. The poncho works great. You can improvise a nice, decent little shelter. I wouldn't go crazy. I wouldn't go with much more than that, really. A few space blankets or emergency bag and some spare set of clothes. Moving on, first aid kit, the basics you probably know of. You want to keep that easy to access on the exterior pocket, along with a tourniquet, some static gauze, and that will get you through some of that immediate thing. In general, in my bags, I will have the flashlight and the first aid stuff available quicker in the exterior pocket, because I know it's always going to be there no matter what backpack I pick up. Moving on, tools, multi-tools, knives. I will suggest at least having a Swiss Army knife. That makes perfect sense. I will suggest going with a sturdier Swiss Army knife like the Soldier. Ideally, I will just go with a Leatherman, right? Maybe avoid the Swiss Army knife entirely if you don't have it. Then Leatherman Wave and Charge, these are the best multi-tools made as of right now. And what's nice is that because the patent has expired, you have some very nice copies, clones made in China. These are perfectly legal because the patent, as I just said, has expired, and you have very well made versions of these made in China that are just a fraction of the price. You can buy it in Amazon. I've done reviews of these. I'll leave links for all of this stuff below in the description of the video. Just follow the links. Yes, it is from the affiliate program. It does help the channel with a small percentage, and it does not change your price at all. Even if there's sales or anything, does not change that one bit, so keep it in mind. I will usually recommend having a fixed blade knife, and here you have mine. This is the knife I designed for Aitor. It's a very good knife. Someone will, oh, but it's not a carbon steel. No, it's better. It's better than your SC 1095 carbon steel, right? This is N680. It is tougher. It keeps a better edge. It is far more rust proof. I mean, it's just a much better steel. It's a much more expensive steel. But hey, if you want to go with something super cheap, you can go with a Mora. And you have stainless steel and carbon steel Moras. Pick whatever you want. I would suggest stainless steel. But the Mora is super affordable. Of course, a little bit of a smaller knife. It's more of a intermediate, larger knife than your tiny Mora. But the Mora does fine. You can go with a Glock knife. Those tend to be quite affordable too. So if you want to have a little bit more of a defensive use knife, or something a little bigger for some heavier duty task that the Mora may be a little bit too small. But at least those two things. Multi-tool could be a Leatherman or some Chinese copy, or and a blade. Let's move on. Of course, you can have like a proper machete depending on the needs you have. One of the tools I suggest having nearby is a pry bar, a crowbar like that. I actually used mine yesterday, and I'm always completely honest with you guys. It wasn't even that one. It was this one, because I have a bunch of these. So we had a stuck door with a thing going on there, right? I have this situation there that needed to be fixed, and I didn't even break the door, but the lock was completely, it died in such a way that there was no other thing to do. There was no way. I had disassembled the lock and there was nothing. I was fortunate enough that with a little bit of pressure, I managed to get a screwdriver in there and fix it. But my point is, sometimes the only thing left to do is force. And for force, you want to have a crowbar, right? Let's move on. Next thing here in the little list that I have, so as to not forget anything, flashlights, right? Illumination, flashlights. I at least recommend having a headlamp, and you probably want to have a proper torch that has more output, more lumens for emergencies. Why? Because this is better than, the main thing I would add is some flashlight of any kind. Headlamp allows you to use both hands, so that's a big thing. But I will also include a more powerful torch in case you have to go a little bit into the rescue thing, the search and rescue situation. A family member that you cannot quite find. There's floods, there's fires, there's something going on, and you need to find someone. For finding people, I want to have a more powerful torch. Let's move on. A fire. Matches and a lighter. 3 is 2, 2 is 1, and 1 is none. You may want to have a fire steel, and in fact, that matchbox has a little fire steel there in the bottom. You don't see a map here. You probably want to add that. It's probably a good idea to keep one in your car, which it is part of the survival kit that I explain in my books as well. Map, compass, these are things that you probably should include, but the truth is that everyone these days has a cell phone, and the cell phone is a GPS. It is quicker, it is better, it is just a fantastic. It does not replace a paper map. So depending on what your plan is, right, and I would suggest that in general, having a map of your location is just a great idea. Where you include it, if you have it in your go bag, in your 72-hour kit, in your home kit, in your vehicle, that's up to you. But also remember that your cell phone will do you no good if you don't have power to actually run it. For that, a power bank with a little solar panel like that one over there, that's a decent size. And people will have like their keys, their cell phone, and their wallet kind of like somewhere close to the door. At least that's what I recommend doing. And if you're escaping for whatever reason, you grab your bag, you grab your other VIP bag or whatever it is that you have set up, and you go. And you grab those things before you open the door to actually leave. That's the point in which, oh, my phone is dead, or my phone is almost dead, which is almost as bad. But if you have that, it's not going to be nearly as a serious of an issue. Radio, FM radio will do enough. I suggest having maybe something like that with the emergency radio, the crank, a shortwave, and a bunch of other things that are cool. That's going to be up to you, but at the very least, FM radio. Your phone may have an FM radio. Mine does, but it does need the headphones to actually use as an antenna. Keep that in mind. Some walkie-talkies, FM, like your Baofeng, your V5R, you need to know how to use those. But the cheap little, PFR ones, they work great as well. So you may want to go with those. I don't think it's absolutely necessary, but it's definitely one of those nice to have things. Let's move on to something that you probably want to keep in safe. That's going to be your VIP bags, your very important paper bags. This is where you keep your documents, your cash, your passports, all of those things. And by the way, make sure everything is updated. You will be surprised by how much time it may take in certain situations to get your passport renewed. Make sure you have everything valid and up to date. But cash, documents, probably some small firearm to keep in that little bag, that's maybe something you want to keep in a safe because of cash, because of valuable documents, and because of the freaking gun. All of those things, you may keep it. Again, it will depend on your specific situation. Maybe you live alone and you just don't have anything you're worried that much about, and you keep it with your bag as well. You keep everything in the same place. That's going to be entirely up to you. Your own personal situation will dictate the best way to go about this. Let's talk now about something that is more specific to what we see happening in Europe with the fires, what you probably saw happening in Texas with the floods, all of these things of emergencies. Well, for that, there are a couple things that you probably want to keep as well. A whistle is something that you definitely want to keep in your survival bag. It's not here, right? Now, is it something that I need right now? Is it something that I see myself using given my situation in this very moment? I mean, for some people it may, for some people it may not be. I know I keep a whistle in every one of my bags strapped on the side of the bag, right on the shoulder strap. I have a whistle in each one of those because it is because of kids. It's because of adults. It is just as important for signaling as a flashlight, even more so. And you've seen it in my other videos. The way I go about this is the flashlight goes on one strap, the whistle goes on the other, and it's going into a sheath so as to have quick access to that. So I have quick access to the first aid stuff. I have quick access to my and my flashlight, and I even add on the handle on top a little red LED so as to use as signaling if we have to walk like on the side of the road. So that's the way I go for each one of the bags. And these things will change depending if it's adults, if it's kids, and the size of the person, what they can carry or not. And there may be even specific things for each family member. But anyway, let's move on to the next thing, which is a mask. A proper respirator. I see a lot of people fighting fires in Europe with basic, a particle mask. That's okay, but the fire, the risk is not only the ash. And we've learned this from some of the fires in Australia, people getting hurt, because the fire is not just throwing ash into the air, it's not just particle, it's toxic fumes, is acid fumes and vapors. These are all things you want to avoid breathing in. And the best thing is having a mask with a tank, with an oxygen tank. The second best thing is having a mask that will filter a lot of those vapors and fumes. Not all masks do that. They need to have the bigger filters with the carbon inside. A particle filter alone will just not do. And then you have gloves, which some gloves are more fireproof than others. I suggest going ones that are cut-proof and fireproof. Don't worry so much about looking tactical. Worry more about having safety gloves. Cut-proof, fireproof, those are good things to have. And then the tools. Here is where you want to have an axe. You want to have saw. You want to have maybe a sledgehammer to break slabs, or a pry bar. The pry bar is a super handy tool. It is maximizing, multiplying your force that you can apply. That's a wonderful tool to have. Guys, that's going to be all for now. If you enjoy the content, do subscribe. Bookstress to learn more about all of this stuff. Links below as well. See you next time.